Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Right Wrench Auto. We're doing something entirely different today. I've got to work on my house here. I went to turn the heater on the other day, and this is actually my fault entirely. I should have checked it a couple of months ago before it got cold, but went to go turn the heater on, and it has this horrible, awful buzzing. And before I replaced it, I thought I'd make a video so that we could learn some stuff together here. I'm going to turn this heat on. So I don't know if you can hear that, but there is just a horrible buzzing sound, and it's actually much quieter than it usually is here. So I'm going to hit that again. I'm going to place you down here so that you can see. Okay, so what you're hearing can be a couple of things. It can either be your capacitor that stores energy to kick this big barrel fan or squirrel cage fan to go off. These consume a whole lot of energy, and whenever they start up, they spin very, very slowly, and that can cause damage to the AC line. Or excuse me, both lines, depending on this is one phase, two phase, or three phase. So we have to find a way to kick this energy off really quick. So we use a capacitor to do so. They can sound real sizzly, they can sound real shaky, they can cause a rattle. But if your fan is not wanting to kick off or just really, really slow, it'd be a good indication that that capacitor is failing. Another thing that this rattle could be a transformer. Now I'm going to go ahead and shut the breaker off over here. I'll be right back. Okay, now my breaker's off and we can safely do some testing here. Let's grab our multimeter. Go ahead and turn it on to AC, and we're going to go ahead and verify that there is no energy that can bite us. To do that, we're going to test our incoming breaker here. We're going to go across the phases. And we're looking for zero energy. We may have a little bit at first. First, we're going to go phase to ground. A little bit there. It's all dying off. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Okay, now we're going to go across our phases. Okay. Now while we're here, we can actually do a continuity check of these breakers. It's not necessary right now because I know that they are working, but for any of those who don't, let's turn our meter to continuity. So if I go here and here, I will see my meter jump up with an ohmage reading. Sorry. Okay, 0.4. This is good resistance. That is very little resistance. The lower resistance, the better the circuit. The higher the resistance, the lower the circuit. We look good there too. Now I'm going to flip this breaker to off, which is the open position. So now my meter will read OL if my breaker is good. And it is. Same thing on the other. Breaker is on, so in this position the breaker is closed, showing good resistance, good circuit? Okay, now same thing. Now if our breaker is good, in the open position, we'll show OL, which means open line or open circuit or broke circuit. All the same thing. Okay. I know these are good. And the power's off. Let's move on to the problem child. Let's move on to the thing that's actually causing us pain here. This is a 2-pole line contactor. Now, it's an easy thing to do to get these confused with relays or contactors. The guy who tried to sell me this called it a relay. But whenever we're using DC voltage, that is DC as in direct current, and or battery voltage, whatever the voltage may be, if we're dealing with DC, it is called a relay. If we're dealing with line voltage, VAC, or voltage alternating current, we will be using a contactor. What we're doing, we have a coil, which is just an electromagnet, and when power is applied to the coil, it sucks in these contacts here. I'm doing it manually, but whenever we apply power, it'll suck this in, and that will carry our current down here, supplied from our breaker to our line contactor, and power is just going to sit at these contacts. They have to jump across this set of contacts to this set of contacts so they can go down into my heating element, which is going to keep us nice and warm this winter. We have one phase for one side of my element and one phase for the other side of my element. This is the other side of my heating elements right here, going back to my breaker. So if I want to stay warm this winter without this buzz, we've got to change this thing out. Now what's causing the buzz in here is when this coil gets weak after so long, the magnet isn't as strong as it used to be, or the insulation in the coil might be breaking down, but either way, it's having to struggle to keep the contacts closed. Now I've got a substantial amount of power on these contacts, so when this is sucked in, it's got to work as hard as it can to keep these contacts closed. And if it's failing to do so, it'll develop a very small resonant chatter, and as the component heats up, the chatter will increase, the buzz will increase, causing much more noise, much more vibration, much more damage, and can lead to a fire. So I'll get this thing off and I'll show you how to test it. Okay, so we're back. I've got the old component off that's causing all the noise. We're going to test this. We're going to do a continuity check between contacts in an open and closed state. And we're also going to measure the resistance of the coil here. We're not going to know exactly the proper tolerance of that this coil is going to need, but we can get pretty close. However, we do have the brand new one. So we'll measure the resistance of this coil, and the difference between this one and this one will show us that that this coil has gone out or is on his way out. So we'll use this one as a reference here. But first, let's do our testing. Before we check the coil resistance, we want to check our contacts here. So let's test that continuity. We're going to turn this over to continuity. We're showing OL, that's proper, as we have no circuit. Now I'm going to create a circuit when I touch these together, and we can see that 0.2. It's jumping around here. Let me get a better bite. 0.2, 0.1. You don't get much better of a circuit than that. Okay, so remember, whenever you're testing the contacts here, power comes in, typically in our bottom, and then comes out of our top when the coil sucks these contacts down. So we want to test like this, across from each other, not beside each other. So let's see what we got. If it's good, it should show open right now. Okay. So our contacts are opened up all the way. Open. That's good, as our contacts are open. Now I'm going to simulate what it would look like when 24 volts VAC, that is 24 volts AC, supplied by the transformer of the HVAC unit, I'm going to simulate whenever it jumps these coils down here. So, here we are. 0.2. That is almost, if not as good as, the circuit that I make here. So these sets of contacts are good. Now let's check these two. 2 and 3. I'm not even going to worry about that little 3 right there. That's something that small I'm not too worried about. The thing to keep in mind with these components, anything that has the cycle power on and off, open a contact and close a contact, is prone to carbon buildup. Every time we open the contact and close the contact, those points in there sit here and do this. And they have power applied, so every time they close, they make a tiny little bitty ionization. And when they open, they do the same. And they just sit here and keep doing that all their life. And eventually, they'll start building up contacts, or corrosion and carbon on the point of contact. It'll no longer make a circuit anymore. The contacts of the contactor are good. Now let's measure the resistance of the coil. This is going to be one side of the coil. This will be the other. These are bridged here, so it doesn't matter. Showing... Oh, excuse me. If I can get this thing here. We are showing 14.3 ohms. Get this out of here. Move over, little dog. The big dog's moving in. All right. Let's test our coil. See what our resistance is. 14.1. A little better, but not by much. All right, let's go throw the new one on. Take some neoprene washers. These are just real flexible neoprene washers right here. This will actually deaden any sound you have from your transformer or your contactor whenever it bolts up to 10 like this, because any tiny little noise on this 10 is amplified so much more. So, that being said, I'm going to go get the contactor and we're going to install these. Something I like to do whenever I'm installing a component, I don't care what it is, if it's a refrigerator, a dishwasher, a light switch. I wouldn't go so far as a bulb, but just about everything else. I've got this nasty habit of always putting the date on it. Not necessarily because it'll make the component run better or last longer, but because that way I've got an idea on how crappy our quality of components and parts are getting. And today is Halloween. Okay, everything is hooked back up properly. Our breakers are in the on position and or hot. Everything is bolted down with our new neoprene washers. Everything's solid. We are about to go turn this breaker on and see how everything is. Hey Day, can you turn that on to heat for me? Alright, Dave's gonna turn the heat on for me. We're gonna watch that contactor suck in and see if we got a noise. Go ahead. No noise. Alright, well that's a win. Cool. Alright, well appreciate you hanging out with me. Glad we got something accomplished. Hopefully you learned something. I think I did. I'll catch you later. Goodbye.